I was with Bob Doran. He's on one of his periodical bends. And what do you call him, Bantam Lions? Just down there in Conway's we were. Doran, Lions and Conway's. She raised a gloved hand to her hair. In came Hoppy, having a wet. Drawing back his head and gazing far from beneath his veiled eyelids, he saw the bright fawn skin shine in the glare. The braided drums. Clearly I can see today. Moisture about gives long sight, perhaps. Talking of one thing or another. Lady's hands. Which side will she get up? And he said, sad thing about our poor friend Patty. What Patty? I said. Poor little Patty Dingham, he said. Off to the country. Broadstone, probably. High brown boots with laces dangling. Well-turned foot. What is he fostering over that change for? Sees me looking. Eyes out for other fellow always. Good fallback. 2 strings to her bow. Why, I said. What's wrong with him, I said. Proud. Rich. Silk stockings. Yes, Mr. Bloom said. He moved a little to the side of McCoy's talking head. Getting up in a minute. What's wrong with him, he said. He's dead, he said. And faith, he filled up. Is it Patty Dingham, I said? I couldn't believe it when I heard it. I was with him no later than Friday last, or Thursday, was it in the Arch? Yes, he said. He's gone. He died on Monday, poor fellow. Watch, watch. Silk flash rich stockings white. Watch. A heavy tramcar honking its gong slewed between. Lost it. Curse your noisy pug nose. Feels locked out of it. Paradise and the Perry. Always happening like that. The very moment. Girl in Eustis Street hallway Monday was settling her garter. Her friend covering the display of esprit de corps. Well, what are you gaping at? Yes, Mr. Bloom said after a dull sigh. Another gone. One of the best, McCoy said. The tram passed. They drove towards the loop line bridge, her rich gloved hand on the steel grip. Flicker, flicker, the lace flare of her hat in the sun. Flicker, flick. Wife, well, I suppose? McCoy's changed voice said. Oh, yes, Mr. Bloom said. Tip-top, thanks. He unrolled the newspaper baton idly and read idly. What is home without Plumtree's potted meat? Incomplete. With it an abode of bliss. My missus has just got an engagement. At least it's not settled yet. Valise tack again. By the way, no harm. I'm off that, thanks. Mr. Bloom turned his large, lidded eyes with unhasty friendliness. My wife, too, he said. She's going to sing at a swagger affair in the Ulster Hall, Belfast, on the 25th. That's so? McCoy said. Glad to hear that, old man. Who's getting it up? Mrs. Marion Bloom. Not up yet. Queen was in her bedroom eating bread and... no book. Blackened court cards laid along her thighs by sevens. Dark lady and fair man. Cat furry black ball. Torn strip of envelope. Love's old sweet song comes love's old. It's a kind of a tour, don't you see, Mr. Bloom said thoughtfully. Sweet song. There's a committee formed. Part shares and part profits. McCoy nodded, picking at his mustache stubble. Oh well, he said, that's good news. He moved to go. Well, glad to see you looking fit, he said. Meet you knocking around. Yes, Mr. Bloom said. Tell you what, McCoy said. You might put down my name at the funeral, will you? I'd like to go, but I mightn't be able, you see. There's a drowning case at Sandy Cove, may turn up, and then the coroner and myself would have to go down if the body is found. You just shove in my name if I'm not there, will you? I'll do that, Mr. Bloom said, moving to get off. That'll be all right. Right, McCoy said brightly. Thanks, old man. I'd go if I possibly could. Well, Talal, just C.P. McCoy will do. That will be done, Mr. Bloom answered firmly. Didn't catch me napping that wheeze. The quick touch, soft mark. I'd like my job. Valise, I have a particular fancy for. Leather, capped corners, riveted edges, double action lever lock. Bob Cowley lent him his for the Wicklow Regatta concert last year and never heard tidings of it from that good day to this. Mr. Bloom, strolling towards Brunswick Street, smiled. My missus has just got on. Reedy freckled soprano. Cheese-spouring nose. Nice enough in its way for a little ballad. No guts in it. You and me, don't you know? In the same boat. Soft soaping. Give you the needle that would. Can he hear the difference? Think he's that way inclined a bit. Against my grain somehow. Thought that Belfast would fetch him. I hope that smallpox up there doesn't get worse. Suppose she wouldn't let herself be vaccinated again. Your wife and my wife. Wonder, is he pimping after me? Mr. Bloom stood at the corner, his eyes wandering over the multicolored hoardings. Contrail and Cochrane's ginger ale, aromatic. Clary's summer sale. No, he's going on straight. Hello. Leah tonight. Mrs. Banman Palmer. Like to see her in that again. Hamlet she played last night. Male impersonator. Perhaps he was a woman. Why Ophelia committed suicide? Poor Papa. Hold on. Why Ophelia committed suicide? Poor Papa. How he used to talk all about Kate Bateman in that. Outside the Adelphi in London, waited all the afternoon to get in. Year before I was born, that was, 65. And Ristori in Vienna. What is this, the right name is? By Mosenthal it is. Rachel, is it? No. The scene he was always talking about, where the old blind Abraham recognizes the voice and puts his fingers on his face. Nathan's voice. His son's voice. I hear the voice of Nathan, who left his father to die of grief and misery in my arms, who left the house of his father and left the God of his father. Every word is so deep, Leopold. Poor Papa. Poor man, I'm glad. I didn't go into the room to look at his face that day. Oh dear, phoo! Well, perhaps it was best for him. Just trying to check, like, who is he talking to? Still McCoy? Mr. Bloom, well, perhaps it was best for him. Mr. Bloom went round the corner and past the drooping nags of the Hazard. No use thinking of it anymore. Nosebag time. Wish I hadn't met that McCoy fellow. He came nearer and heard a crunching of gilded oats, the gently chomping teeth. Their full buck eyes regarded him as he went by. Amid the sweetened oak reek of horse piss. Sweet oaten reek of horse piss. What the hell? Sweet oaten reek of horse piss. They're El Dorado. Poor Jugginses. Damn all they know or care about anything with their long noses stuck in nose bags. Too full for words. Still they get their feet all right in their doss. Gelded, too. A stump of black gutta percha wagging limp between their haunches. Might be happy all the same that way. Good poor brutes they look. Still, their neigh can be very irritating. Their neigh. Oh, so he's talking about the horses. He drew the letter from his pocket and folded it into the newspaper he carried. Might just walk into her here. The lane is safer. He passed the cabman's shelter. Curious? The life of drifting cabbies. All weathers, all places, time or set down, no will of their own, voglio e non. Like to give them an odd cigarette, sociable, shed a few flying syllables as they passed. He hummed. La chidarem la mano la 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 la. He turned into Cumberland Street and, going on some paces, halted in the lee of the station wall. No one. Mead's timber yard, piled bulks, ruins and tenements. With careful tread he passed over a hopscotch court with its forgotten picky-stone. Not a sinner. Near the timber yard a squatted child at marbles, alone, shooting the taw with a cunny thumb. A wise tabby, a blinking sphinx, watched from her warm sill. Pity to disturb them. Muhammad cut a piece out of his mantle not to wake her. Open it, and once I played marbles when I went to that old dame's school. She liked mignonette, Mrs. Ellis's, and Mr.? He opened the letter within the newspaper. A flower, I think it's a yellow flower with flattened petals. Not annoyed, then? What does she say? Dear Henry, I got your last letter to me, and thank you very much for it. I'm sorry you did not like my last letter. Why did you enclose the stamps? I'm awfully angry with you. I do wish I could punish you for that. I called you naughty boy because I do not like that other world. Please tell me, what is the real meaning of that word? Word or world? Interesting. Are you not happy in your home, you poor little naughty boy? I do wish I could do something for you. Please tell me what you think of poor me. I often think of the beautiful name you have. Dear Henry, when will we meet? I think of you so often you have no idea. I have never felt myself so much drawn to a man as you. I feel so bad about. Please write me a long letter and tell me more. Remember, if you do not, I will punish you. So now you know what I will do to you, you naughty boy, if you do not wrote. Oh, how I long to meet you. Henry dear, do not deny my request before my patience are exhausted. Then I will tell you all. Goodbye now, naughty darling. I have such a bad headache today, and I write by return to your longing. Martha. Crazy lady. P.S. Do tell me, what kind of perfume does your wife use? I want to know. He tore the flower gravely from its pinhold, smelt it almost no smell, and placed it in his part pocket. Language of flowers. They like it because no one can hear. Or a poison bouquet to strike him down. Then, walking slowly forward, he read the letter again, murmuring here and there a word. Angry tulips with you, darling man-flower, punish your cactus if you don't please poor forget-me-not how I long violets to dear roses when we soon anemone meet all naughty night stalk wife Martha's perfume. Having read it all, he took it from the newspaper and put it back in his side pocket. Weak joy opened his lips, changed since the first letter. Wonder did she wrote it herself. Doing the indignant. A girl of good family like me. Respectable character. Could meet one Sunday after the rosary. Thank you. Not having any. Usual love scrimmage. Then running round corners. Bad as a row with Molly. Cigar has a cooling effect. Narcotic. Go further next time. Naughty boy. Punish. Afraid of words, of course. Brutal. Why not? Try it anyhow. A bit at a time. Fingering still the letter in his pocket, he drew the pin out of it. Common pin, eh? He threw it on the road. Out of her clothes somewhere. Pinned together. Queer the number of pins they always have. No roses without thorns. Flat Dublin voices bawled in his head. Those two sluts that night in the coombe linked together in the rain. Oh, Mary lost the pin of her drawers. She didn't know what to do. To keep it up. It, them. Such a bad headache. Has her roses, probably. Or sitting all day typing. Eye focus bad for stomach nerves. What perfume does your wife use? Now, could you make out a thing like that? To keep it up. Mary lost the pin of her drawers. Didn't know what to do. To keep it up. Martha, Mary, I saw that picture somewhere. I forget now, old master faked for money. He is sitting in their house, talking. Mysterious. Also the two sluts in the coombe would listen. To keep it up. Nice kind of evening feeling. No more wandering about. Just loll there. Quiet dusk. Let everything rip. Forget. Tell about places you have been, strange customs. The other one, jar on her head, was getting the supper. Fruit, olives, lovely cool water out of the well, stone cold like the hole in the wall at Ashtown. Must carry a paper goblet next time I go to the trotting marches. She listens with big, dark, soft eyes. Tell her more and more, all. Then a sigh, silence, long, long, long rest. Going under the railway arch, he took out the envelope, tore it swiftly in shreds, and scattered them towards the road. The shreds fluttered away, sank in the dank air, a white flutter, then all sank. Henry Flower. You could tear up a check for £100 in the same way. Simple bit of paper. Lord Ivog once cashed a 7-figure check for £1 million in the Bank of Ireland. Shows you the money to be made out of porter. Still, the other brother, Lord Ardelon, has to change his shirt 4 times a day, they say. Skin breeds lice or vermin. £1 million. Wait a moment. 2p a pint. 4p a quart. 8p a gallon of porter. No, 1 and 4p a gallon of porter. 1 and 4 and 20. 15 about. Yes, exactly. 15 millions of barrels of porter. What am I saying, barrels? Gallons. About 1 million barrels all the same. An incoming train clanked heavily above his head. Coach after coach. Barrels bumped in his head. Dull porter slopped and churned inside. The bungholes sprang open, and a huge dull flood leaked out, flowing together, winding through mudflats all over the level land. A lazy pooling swirl of liquor bearing along wide-leaved flowers of its froth. He had reached the open back door at All Hallows. Back door of All Hallows? Stepping into the porch, he doffed his hat, took the card from his pocket, and tucked it again behind the leather headband. Damn it, I might have tried to work McCoy for a pass to Mullingar. Same notice on the door, sermon by the Very Reverend John Conmee, S.J., on St. Peter Claver and the African Mission Save China's Millions. Wonder how they explain it to the heathen Chinese. Prefer an ounce of opium. Celestials. Rank heresy for them. Prayers for the conversion of Gladstone they had too when he was almost unconscious. The Protestants the same. Convert Dr. William J. Walsh, D.D., to the true religion. Buddha their god, lying on his side in the museum. Taking it easy with hand under his cheek. Jaw sticks burning. Not like Ecce Homo. Crown of thorns and cross. Clever idea, St. Patrick the Shamrock. Chopsticks? Conmee. Martin Cunningham knows him. Distinguished looking. Sorry I didn't work him about getting Molly into the choir instead of that Father Farley who looked a fool but wasn't. They're taught that. He's not going out in bluey specks with the sweat rolling off him to baptize blacks, is he? Baptiste, what am I saying? Baptize blacks, is he? The glasses would take their fancy, flashing. Like to see them sitting around in a ring with bulb lips, entranced, listening. Still life, lap it up like milk, I suppose. The cold smell of sacred stone called him. He trod the worn steps, pushed the swing door, and entered softly by the rear. Something going on, some sodality. Pity so empty. Nice, discreet place to be next some girl. Who is my neighbor? Jammed by the hour to slow music. That woman at midnight mass, seventh heaven. Woman knelt in the benches with crimson halters round their necks, heads bowed. A batch knelt at the altar rails. The priest went along by them, murmuring, holding the thing in his hands. He stopped at each, took out a communion, shook a drop or two, are they in water? Off it, and put it neatly into her mouth. Her hat and head sank. Then the next one, a small old woman. The priest bent down to put it into her mouth, murmuring all the time, Latin. The next one, shut your eyes and open your mouth. What? Corpus, body, corpse. Good idea, the Latin. Stupefies them first. Hospice for the dying. They don't seem to chew it, only swallow it down. Rum idea. Eating bits of a corpse while the cannibals cotton to it. He stood aside watching their blind masks pass down the aisle, one by one, and seek their places. He approached a bench and seated himself in its corner, nursing his hat and newspaper. These pots we have to wear. Stop there.